This one comes from Zep Feed. Very interesting article. Let's get into it. Lisa Bonet's daughter explains why she couldn't connect with being black. Actress Lisa Bonet and singer Lenny Kravitz's 29-year-old daughter Zoe Kravitz recently did an interview with Nylon magazine where she admitted that she did not know what it meant to be black. She was confused as it gets about her heritage, so she instead identified with being white. That's interesting. Now let's keep in mind that, to her credit, both her parents are biracial. Lisa is white and black. Lenny's mother was the late Afro-American actress Roxy Roker, Helen from The Jeffersons, if you guys remember that TV show. And by the way, she wasn't Afro-American, she was Afro-Caribbean. I think she was from the Bahamas or something like that, or Jamaican. I forget, but look up her lineage. She's Afro-Caribbean. His father was also white, referring to Lenny. So Zoe is also of mixed heritage. I have comments about that. Peep what Zoe explained about why she could not connect with being black, though. As one of a few black kids in her predominantly white school, she remembers saying things like, "I'm just as white as y'all," to her classmates. I identified with white culture, and I wanted to fit in, she said. I didn't identify with black culture. Like, I didn't like Tyler Perry movies and was not into hip hop. I like Neil Young. So do I. But that means nothing. Anyway, I'll do my interjections later. But at the time, but as time went on, her views shifted. Black culture is so much deeper than that, she says. But unfortunately, that is what's fed through the media. And that's what people see. That's what I saw. But then as I got older, I listened to Tribe Called Quest, watched films with Sidney Poitier, and heard Billie Holiday and Nina Simone. I had to unbrainwash myself. It's my mission, especially as an actress. A big tenet of undertaking involves choosing the roles that don't focus on her race. I don't want to play everyone's best friend, she says. I don't want to play the role of a girl struggling in the ghetto. It's not that the story isn't important, but I saw patterns and I was like, I don't relate to these people. Kravitz's agent knows not to pass her scripts where her race is a key factor. But there has been one exception. The Sundance darling Dope. It hit all the points that I believe in, she says, of the hilarious film about a crew of geeky punk and early 90s hip hop fan. I didn't mean to put the 90s in there. I don't know. Sorry about that. And 90s hip hop loving teens growing up in Inglewood, California. I knew those people, she says. I got the sense of humor. While Kravitz has an admirable success in this regard, there has been a few roles where she's lost because of her race. She says, in the last Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises, they told me that I couldn't get an audition for a small role they were casting because they weren't going urban. Look at those, what I call bitch whistles or dog whistles, as a lot of people call them, that these people will use. I'll talk about that later. She says, I'm going to read that again. They told me that I couldn't get an audition for a small role they were casting because they weren't going urban. Urban is a dog whistle for being black, by the way, y'all. it was like, what the, what does that mean? What does that have to do with anything? I have to play a role like, yo, what's up, Batman? What's going on with you? I definitely commend Zoe for now attempting to get to know her whole self, but I can't help to wonder what she was or wasn't being taught as a child. Good question. I have nothing but love for Lenny and Lisa, and I can tell that they love their daughter more than life itself. But in my humble opinion, it just seems like Zoe needed a tad few more history lessons about her grandparents, her parents, and everyone else in her family who was black, because she actually had the perception that being black in America is summarized by watching Tyler Perry movies and bumping Cardi B and Migos all day while doing the Millie Rock dance. I respect her honesty, but here's what the doctor is ordering: a Netflix rental of the entire Roots series with a heavy dose of Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye, and Gil Scott-Heron's albums on the side. And you know what? I'll be honest. I admire the writer who said this, but who's to say that she doesn't know about them? Even though I get where she's going with that, because those guys were some conscious guys, especially Gil Scott-Heron and Curtis Mayfield, in my humble opinion. Not to knock Marvin Gaye, because he said a lot of things on What's Going On album. But man, Gil Scott-Heron and Curtis Mayfield, whoo, that was like a steady drumbeat of consciousness all the time. And my favorites. One thing that she said, it's funny how and it's understandable, nobody likes to be typecasted, but you cannot ignore race, man. You can't. And for Zoe, if you hear this, you're going to be looked at as a black woman no matter what, and they showed you that with those little dog whistles. That urban thing, yeah. Don't think that you could pass for so long. You know, like, that cannot be an issue of being, that one cannot ignore in this country. Yes, I know she's biracial. She's a black biracial, though. I always make the difference when I say this. You know, people have a problem with that. And I'll tell you why. No matter what you are, you know, as far as like, if you have any black lineage like that, you're going to be seen as black. Even Lenny Kravitz's mom, which is why I'm surprised that she, you know, I'm curious as to how this translated with Zoe's life, because Lenny knew. There's an interview, and I think I referenced this before in a video about, I think it was a video that I did on Lisa, but Lenny Kravitz's mom, if you guys ever see that VH1 Behind the Music episode, basically put him up on game, like saying, hey, yes, you're half black, you're half white, you know, and Jewish, but the world is not going to see you as that. They're going to see you as a black man. And he's written songs about that. Like Mr. Cab Driver, which was the first song I heard by him, was that. You know, talking about, you know, brothers that couldn't get cabs, man. You know, I mean, so I don't understand how she just got the assumption of what black culture is or wasn't. And I'll be honest with you guys, you know, the reason that Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz stuck out to me, it was cool to see black kids or people that were black or known to be black that were, whether they're biracial or not, I'm saying that because some of you guys are very sensitive about that. It was cool to see black alternative kids of any kind of background like that. And, you know, when you looked at Lisa Bonet on The Cosby Show, and I told you, you know, people were talking about how her role wasn't anything. For me, actually, I thought it was cool because she was that sort of alternative kid that was black, that sort of black, sort of punk rocker type, you know. Like, that was kind of like me and the few other black folks that I knew that were, I guess, what people wouldn't consider typical black people, which, you know, that within itself is a whole nother conversation. I've talked about this in my black alienation video, if you guys check that out. Black nerd alienation video. But it was cool to see that coming up. And you know, the movie Dope, I saw that movie, and yeah, I could understand that because I was that kid in the early 90s that was a punk rocker, listening to also hip-hop as well. But the thing is, and I could see how she could relate to that because her parents could easily, you know, be in that category too. But I think her understanding of blackness, although the article seems to look at her in a progression, you know, of where she kind of was discovering that it wasn't just a few things or pop culture, like dominant black pop culture, you know, that black is more universal. I think she still needs, you know, how could I say this? Maybe she's still not aware in a lot of ways. And I know what some people are going to probably say is because of her mixed heritage or whatever. But then again, you look at somebody like a Christelle Saint. I don't know if you guys know who this model is. I actually used to correspond with her for a while. Christelle Saint, now a lot of people got mad because she said that she was not biracial. And she didn't claim to be that. So people were in their feelings about that. And she told them, like, hey, I have 2 black parents. You know, if you guys saw Christelle Saint, she looks lighter than any of these people. And she's a model, and, you know, her parents, they're Caribbean. And, you know, you have a lot of mixes in Caribbean, but she identifies as black. She's a black woman. Very light complected, you know, and she has a big natural and all that. You guys probably would think that she was white passing if she straightened her hair. But she told, I mean, you know, it's just like, people were upset that she said that she was black. And, you know, her parents, yeah, I'm sure that they probably are mixed like a lot of other, even Afro-American parents or black people. We have a lot of mix in our background too. You know, it's not, I mean, we're not obvious, most of us are probably not obviously biracials in the current sense of that, like just recent, you know, mix, but we have a lot of different things in our heritage. But we are black, you know, predominantly of African descent. And that's a whole nother story that still relates to this. I'm sorry, I don't want to be long-winded with this video, but Christelle Saint basically said that she was black, and I remember reading the comments and people were being pissed off about her not recognizing that she's biracial, and she's not. She has 2 parents that are, you know, African diaspora parents that are Caribbean, and I'm sure they probably have a mixed heritage as well. So the thing is, she's conscious about that, you know, and Bob Marley being biracial was conscious about, you know, that as well. There's so many different examples, but hey, you know, people have their learning levels. I think to some degree what this article is saying, I think she kind of tries to ignore the race factor where you can't, my friend. You know, your late grandma didn't do it with your father, and I don't think you can, Zoe. You're a light-skinned, biracial black woman. You cannot identify as white. Those that have tried, unless you're Carol Channing, but that's a rarity, they couldn't do that. I mean, Jennifer Bills didn't even look white to me. People thought she was white. That woman's never looked white to me. I knew she was black. You know, people give Harvey a hard time because he talks about, you know, this as well. And I'll say this, man, I think it goes back to just what people experience. She could not relate to that experience, but you see in the article she got the N-word wake-up call when she didn't get that role because she was urban, you know? By the way, I have to let everyone know, when people, I use the term bitch whistles, not for women, I use it for the term dog whistles, because I don't particularly care for white supremacists, and that's the way I look at them as. I don't even like to use the word dog. I will use an insult to talk about their whistles, but I know I should probably keep it G, you know, general audience. but not gangster, I guess. Anyway, I'd like to know what you guys think about this. It's a very interesting article. Peace. As a side note, I have to say this. As we all know, I think maybe she's grown up a little bit more, but to say that we all as black people identify with just digging Tyler Perry, that's not true. And so it's just weird, like I grew up, my mom and dad taught me who I was, but I was a punk rocker. I like Bad Brains. Yeah, I like Neil Young too, but I still liked hip hop, and even if I didn't, I would still be black. Doesn't change anything, I still to this day, I like a lot of different kinds of music. I'm a musician and an artist myself, but the thing is, I know who I am. And I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't go through an alienation from my people because I didn't like everything that my people dug, or vice versa, but it still doesn't change me with being black. That's my message to even like a lot of, to doing videos occasionally about so-called blurs or Afro-punks or, people like, Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet, even though some people would argue because they're black biracials, it might be a bit different. But hey, like this article says, she got her little wake-up call with that role. But I'm just saying, I just wanted to interject on this more. Her definitions of black culture were through entertainment, and unfortunately, that's sad. And I think that's what the article was trying to convey as well. It's something that's taught, not freaking seen on TV. Like who are we identifying with? What are you identifying with? And how do you identify with that? Anyway, I have so much to say about this, you guys. I just wanted to interject on that. Just because you don't like a certain thing does not make you less black or more black. I don't know. Like, let me know what you guys think. I think that's what her point. She thought it identified with just media stuff, but that's a very shallow thing. And she admitted that it was that. But even when she, it just seemed like her blackness came through entertainment. But hey, I guess that's what some people learn it by. I mean, I dug Gil Scott-Heron when I was a kid. I dug Public Enemy as well, and like a lot. But, I grew up the way that I grew up. And obviously my parents taught me to be proud of who I am as a black person. So, but I guess my main thing too is like, Lenny's mom taught him that. But I'm just wondering what happened with the translation. Kind of, I guess, the same thing that this article is wondering. Anyway, sorry about that, you guys. I'm just going to let you guys, let me know what you think. Peace.